Hello viewers, once again, thank you once again for tuning on to BrandPlus TV today. My name is Chef Andy, your regular host, and today we are going to be working on a dish on the same theme that we are working on, that is going green. We're going to be working on a very simple vegetarian dish today. We're going to be making some Chinese stir-fried rice, and to start us off, we're going to begin by introducing the ingredients we're going to be working with to give you a broader and better perspective of what to expect. So we're going to start from the very end at the front, where we've got some olive oil. I've also got some minced ginger and some chopped up garlic. We're also going to be using some 5-spice Chinese spice, a bit of some soy sauce, and a few pieces of some chopped jalapeno chilies. You're also going to require about 20 grams of a carrot, about 2 small onions, about a quarter cup of some frozen peas. You'll also require a quarter cup of some sweet corn. You'll require as well 1 red pepper and 1 yellow pepper, some fresh coriander there, some white steamed basmati rice, and of course some salt and pepper to taste. So we're going to take a break now, giving you a bit of time to freshen up and get ready for the show. And for those of you who are taking notes, this is definitely your chance to grab your pens and papers. Please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are just catching up with the show, we've just been introducing the ingredients to my right, and we're just about to start off the very simple process on the side here. So I'll start by heating up my pan. And now we're going to start off the process very simply by cooking up some of our ingredients, which of course will begin by fragrancing a bit of our garlic and ginger. So I'm just going to be working from this end, and I'll start the process very simply by adding some oil to the pan. Allow that just a bit of time to heat up, and while that continues, proceed to grab your red onions. Begin by chopping them into half, and then very simply with a sharp knife cut some nice thin slits right through your onion vertically, and proceed to finish by chopping that as finely as possible. Of course, making sure to discard the roots, and proceed to do the same for the other 3 pieces. Okay, we're going to reserve those for a little later. Now, just to start us off, very simply, begin by adding about a heaped teaspoon of some minced ginger. Add in as well a teaspoon of some chopped garlic. And using a wooden spoon, begin by swirling your ingredients around the pan, allowing just a few seconds for your ingredients to combine in flavor with the oil, and of course continue to do so right until you've got a nice beautiful golden color on your garlic. And of course stop right at the point where you get that nice beautiful aroma coming through. Right, so once that's done, proceed to add in your onions. Proceed to toss that together in your pan. And of course at this stage we're cooking everything at high heat. So very simply, remember we always start with the ingredients that take a little longer to cook. So we're going to start off by julienning our carrot. Proceed by first cutting it into some nice, beautiful long chunks there, and proceed to chop that into julienne. Julienne being a very, very thin strip. Now, particularly for anything in relation to stir fry, very, very important to make sure your ingredients are pretty much the same size. This will allow for them to cook in exactly the same amount of time, and it will also give you a nice, beautiful presentation to your dish. Right, so once your carrots are done, proceed to add those to your pot, and proceed to toss everything together. All right, so next up we're going to proceed to add a bit of our peppers. So I'm just going to get some slits off the peppers there. Just get that mess off the table. Now for this particular recipe, very, very crucial to make sure that you have your rice pre-cooked. Remember, rice that is taken straight from the pot and taken straight into the pan will have a very, very serious consequence of overcooking if you actually don't cook your rice early. Remember, you can also actually use rice that's been left over in your refrigerator, maybe something that you had left over from dinner. This is actually a very, very good way to make use of leftovers in your refrigerator. And for those of you who may be thinking of incorporating some meat to this dish, remember to always cook your meat first and proceed to toss and add the other ingredients towards the end. So very quickly, proceed to also cube your bell pepper. And I'm just using this in equal ratios. Right, so once that's chopped up, we're going to reserve that for just a few seconds. Proceed to add your peas to your pan. And proceed to toss everything together. At this stage, we're going to start flavoring our mixture by adding our 5 spice. This should be easily available at your retail outlets, especially for those of you who are based within the CBD. It shouldn't be too hard to get your hands on some very, very beautiful Chinese spice. To that, we're going to incorporate a bit of our soy sauce. And I'm also going to add my jalapeno chilies. Now proceed to toss that together. And now, next up, we're going to start by adding our rice. So I'm using about half a cup of steamed basmati. You can actually use pishori rice as well. Now using a spoon, break up the chunks of your rice and proceed to toss everything together. Very important at this stage to make sure you continue to mix continuously, allowing for a nice even cooking of your ingredients. And last but not least, proceed to add your bell peppers. Mix through once more. This is a nice, very simple technique of mixing, especially for those of you who are very accustomed to cooking with woks. Very, very common Chinese technique of mixing your ingredients in a pan. So you could actually take a bit of time in your kitchen and maybe give it a bit of practice. It does actually become a little easier over time. Right, so just to finish this off, nice fresh hand of some chopped coriander leaves. Proceed to add those to your pan. And very, very importantly, always remember to not forget to season your dish. So nice generous dash of salt and a bit of some crushed black peppercorns. proceed to toss that using your spoon, of course, to make sure not to have any of your ingredients stuck to the pan. Now at this stage, you can actually turn off your heat completely. Allow your rice to cool off very, very quickly by pouring that onto a plate. Now just proceed to pour that out. And you can allow that to cool off very, very quickly in room temperature. And remember, this is not the last and final bit. I am going to come back lastly and show you a very, very simple technique of finishing this with a bit of egg, for those of you who would like to add a bit of egg or a bit of flavor to your dish. But remember, for those of you who may not be able to actually consume any poultry products, which means this being eggs or anything particularly containing a bit of egg in it, that may not work for you. So this will actually be the last and final process, and you can proceed to serve this with any particular dish of choice. But we're going to take a very quick break and clean up our station. But when we do come back, I'm going to show you the last and final step, which is basically incorporating some of your sweet corn. And we're also going to be doing the last and final step where we're going to be incorporating some whole eggs. So please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're right now at the last and final stage of plating our very simple Chinese fried rice. And now, as I'd mentioned before we took the break, we did do the first cooking of the rice, which is a very simple one that is on the left from your screen, or rather on the right from your screen, or my left. So this is a very, very simple and basic one that you may actually be able to cook for anybody with particularly some dietary requirements. Remember, this has no particular spices. The only seasoning I added to that was salt and pepper, so that's a very simple and basic one that you can serve. But I am going to show you as well a very, very common particular recipe for making Chinese fried rice. Remember, very, very traditionally, you'd always particularly add an egg to your rice. So we're going to start off by cracking 2 whole eggs. Right, now remember, the rice has been cooked already. Remember, this is a little warm now, so remember, you want to add this right at the very end. So we're going to proceed to season our egg really quickly and whip that very quickly. And all you're going to do now, after whipping your egg, proceed to add that to a pan. Proceed now to add your rice. And using a slotted spoon, proceed to mix everything together in your pan. And last but not least, incorporate some of your sweet corn. Mix through once more at high heat and proceed to mix right about until your egg is fully cooked. And of course, use your spoon as well to break up the rice and the egg. That should allow for you to cook it a little faster. And this should actually come to a very similar consistency to scrambled eggs. And then, very importantly, season lastly with some black pepper and a small pinch of salt. Mix through once more. So this should particularly take you not longer than 4 minutes to complete. And once that is done, proceed to turn off your heat completely. Now, to give it a nice beautiful gloss, I like to also drizzle in just a little bit of olive oil towards the end. And lastly, small dash of soy sauce just to bring the flavors together. Mix that through once more. Now you can proceed to plate your dish. Now, as I mentioned, this comes to be a very, very simple dish to make for most households, especially for those of you who are looking for a nice, convenient meal to recreate from probably some of the ingredients left over from your dinner party, or even maybe a few ingredients that were left over from your last dinner meal, and you're looking for a very simple option to prepare a quick and handy meal for lunch. This definitely should work for most of you. I hope you've had a bit of fun today, having managed to see how this very, very simple fried rice is done. I hope you'll also try it at home and probably also give us a bit of feedback through our Facebook page. For those of you who have no idea yet, we do have a Facebook page tagged to this show. You can actually watch previous episodes and you can be able to learn much, much more. But from this end, I'm going to thank you once more for tuning in, and until the next episode of Lunch Guide, I've been your host, Chef Andy, bidding you farewell. See you soon and goodbye.